I never had to go look for anybody because, A, I didn't know who to look for. I had no idea who to look for. Towards the end, I began to understand, if I'd see something that would trigger my attention, I'd make contact with them. Like Carl Kalaman, when I realized the significance of these two pieces and how these waves, the waves, the first three components of the triad wave fit the components of his 9 waves, the ninth wave, the eighth wave, and the seventh wave. And so it was like, if you look at a graph of them, they're the same. That's true about several things. And so what's been interesting is that something would just fall into my lap and I would act on it. And that's how I met most of the people. Ben Lonetree, who actually did the spectra analysis on the 3 sections of the triad wave. I had gone with a friend to a bookstore in Sedona, a woo-woo bookstore in Sedona, and we were walking around. She was looking at stuff, and I saw this little book literally just slide out of the shelf and fall down, and I picked it up, and it was a little tiny paperback book on Schumann resonance. And I thought, oh my, I know that word. I didn't know much about it, but I did know the word. So I bought the book. We went back to her house, and I'm reading it that night. And the next morning I called because he had his number in the book. And I said, would you meet me for coffee? And he finally reluctantly agreed to meet me for coffee. I told him a little bit and sent him home with the segments. And he called me in the middle of the night and said, we really need to talk. And from that point on, he was such an assistance because he understood. One time in Sedona, he took me up and walked around to some of the places that he measured the vortexes. And he just said, go walk around a little bit and call me when you feel something odd. So I did. I walked around thinking, I don't feel anything up here except confusion. And all of a sudden I stopped, and he turned on his equipment, and he said, what do you feel? I said, inflow, outflow, 4.4. I said, what's that? He said, it's an inflow, outflow flow vortex that goes both ways. So it was like, oh, okay. How did I know that? I don't know. Again, it's about the trust in what comes out of your mouth, that it's not just that you're babbling because you want to babble, although sometimes it is, but it is about trusting when someone asks you a question to be able to answer it as with all the information that you can put into it, and trust that you're okay with that. I tend to be very wordy. I'm reminded by everybody about that. It just is what it is, because my words are in a conversation. What happens is we don't know the answer. We don't know the questions to ask one another sometimes, or perhaps we are holding some piece of information, and each of us has encoding within our physiology of the people that we're going to meet one day, and we have their answers and they have ours. And sometimes it just means we talk until those questions come up, and when they do, then we can act surprised because we didn't even know we wanted to ask that question.